The greatest thing that you can learn is how to think, not what to think, because what to think is always going to change based on what's happening. And right now, the speed of changes and adapting is it's just crazy.
Hey, Rick, I'm super excited to have you join me for this episode of Coffee with Closers.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Most certainly, you have one of the most interesting stories of entrepreneurs that I've met. You started a career in law. You were practicing as an attorney with a practice in Chicago, doing patent and trademarks and all of those things. Then you went down to run your own creative agency and was producing events. And then you decided to go run your family's multi-location restaurant business. So that's not that often that I hear an attorney turned into an entrepreneur running restaurants. So I'm just curious to learn about that journey, and maybe you can paint the picture on how that all came about.
Yeah, so I think you're right. You probably have heard the story of many lawyers becoming entrepreneurs, but very few that get into the hospitality space. That was definitely one of the biggest learning curves for me was the change in bedside manner that comes from all the training you receive because you are like who you're surrounded by and who's mentoring you and teaching you. So I am a lawyer. I went to law school. I was trained by other lawyers. I practiced and practiced with and against other lawyers. But when you do that for a number of years, you become a lot of that in what is commonplace in that field. So
Mm-hmm.
the way you speak to people, the way you do stuff, I don't necessarily think one way is the right way. There's a lot of reasons why you have to speak in certain ways and carry yourself accordingly when you're an attorney. It's very serious matters. It's you want to make sure that they understand that the seriousness, the gravity of situations and stuff like that. You don't want to take them as lightly, but you have to be really serious. I would say is probably the thing. Very adult. There's a lot of adult behavior going on. Some of the stuff is life and death. Some of it's family fortunes. Some of it is someone's whole business on the line. So you have to take it with that degree of seriousness and focus and attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then you demand that same from your client in order to be successful in whatever the matter is. Hospitality business is very different from that. I love being in it because I think it's
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to really just be myself 24 hours a day. My my intellect and my intellectual curiosity and all that. I love the practice of law in that sense, and I love doing it
Mm-hmm.
and helping people. But the way you have to conduct yourself and carry yourself, it was one of those things where I felt that, especially when you're starting your career, you spend most of your time working. You're
Mm-hmm.
spending a lot of your life just working. I felt that the majority then of my life, I was playing a character that I
Mm-hmm.
needed to be. Ultimately, I had a certain degree of success as an attorney because I never subscribed to changing myself and being phony, and that was refreshing for a lot of clients. So I don't know if I could have been continued that on and been really successful in carving my own way and doing it my way and just being me. But I felt there was a lot of scenarios where my personality and my natural instincts were not a benefit to the practice. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had to retrain into be something that I just didn't want to be. So maybe I could have forced myself through that or not, but like I'm much more comfortable in what I'm doing now, which is I like to build teams, I like to build brands, I like to make people happy. So when we make a great product and you enjoy it, there's an instant gratification to that. On my side of we work really hard to deliver a quality product quickly with great
Mm-hmm.
service, and it's hard to do but simple in its essence. And so I love the simplicity of what it is we're the equation. I love the simplicity of the equation here. And I think especially now with social media like you mentioned, which is where my agency was doing social and then experiential marketing, I just was able to be myself. And I think the more that I'm able to be myself, the better things get. Because you build more of a culture around that sort of light-heartedness and goofiness and joking, and as long as everybody's doing their job, and that's where all the other stuff comes in, which is not as fun. But
Yeah.
this environment is really a good one for someone who likes to be fun and playful and crack jokes and have a good time. We're not doing. I always say we're making pizzas. We're not doing brain surgery, so everyone just take a breath. It's not that serious.
have fun doing it. So one of the things that I think you said off screen, off camera, was the when you were working in the law field, right? You were trading hours for dollars, and you didn't see
Yeah.
yourself continuing to follow that path. So can you tell us a little bit about how you came to that conclusion? Hey, I might be able to make a nice firm, build a nice firm, but this is still limited in terms of what you can produce from a revenue standpoint.
Yeah, so I think that's where the other part of the sort of imposter syndrome or the laying out the path forward to me, there was a disconnect where I go, no matter what I put into this, I'm never going to get out of it what I truly want and
Mm-hmm.
being who I want to be. Meaning, I want to be successful, like most people
Mm-hmm.
do. I'm willing to put in the work, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
make a certain level of income at a minimum. I'm not trying to be like some sort of billionaire or anything like that. Not like, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire and or billionaire and all that. No, it was like just there was a degree of success that I set was like this is the bare minimum of what I want to achieve out of
Mm-hmm.
my career, and no, and that my sights were set probably higher than a lot of people's expectations for themselves, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
think they were unrealistic. I thought they would be unrealistic though if I stayed in that setting for a number of reasons. Number one, I don't think that I would have been the person I wanted to be because I wouldn't have loved it as much. So I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
be as happy in my day to day doing that. Number two, you spend a great deal of time when you're an attorney sitting down at a desk, and I didn't want to be sedentary because with my family's medical history and all this other stuff, with being prone to diabetes and other sort of things, I'm like, if I sit my whole career, I'm going to be dead. I'm not going to live that long. I believed that because I knew
Mm-hmm.
I would fall into my work. And if my work didn't involve physical activity in some way or being on my feet a lot and moving around and going from place to place, that it would take a
Mm-hmm.
physical and mental toll on me that would not be good. And then
Mm-hmm.
trading hours for dollars, if that's the name of the game in most law
Mm-hmm.
practices, is hourly billing. Number one, ethically, I know it's the ethical way to do stuff in our field and how it's always been done. I don't feel that it is. I feel like it always set me at odds with my client, which is my customer, and I don't like that feeling because then you never want to charge people, and if you never want to charge people, you're never going to make any money. It's like, yeah, I'm like personally not comfortable with this all the time, so that was not going to be good. And that was just a personal thing. And then on
Mm-hmm.
top of that, I go, if you want to, I always wanted to have a family and have as
Mm-hmm.
many kids as I possibly could. Not in a ridiculous amount, but it was like I always wanted to have at least one more than one, and more than one and less than eight. So we have three, and we're like, yeah, three is actually the number. Three is the number where we're good. We're done. This is too much already. And I didn't want to have that same story of dad spending a lot of time at the office and this and that, and rarely seeing them and earning all that money, getting to those places and doing that. Where I'm down in an office, I'm miserable. I'm sitting at my desk all day. My family is living their lives basically without me, and
Mm-hmm.
there's memes about it too, where it's like, lawyers on vacation and now they're only doing X, Y, and Z for work instead of doing all this other stuff. It's because
Mm-hmm.
it never stops. Now, most people could say, isn't the restaurant business kind of like that too? And it's 24 hours a day. Not if you construct it the right way. And I don't think many law practices can be deconstructed and reconstructed because that is the essential business model
Mm-hmm.
of the legal field. And there's not a whole lot of creativity or re-engineering or what do I say, like modernization or
Mm-hmm.
disruption in the legal field. A couple of people have
Mm-hmm.
tried some things. There's LegalZoom and this and that, but that's not really a law practice. So there's really not a lot in that space of change. Maybe that will be different in the future. Maybe it needed someone like me to say we're going to do
Mm-hmm.
this a different way, but I just didn't see that. And this, I spent a lot of hours and a lot of those years, early years, back full time in this business, going doing the 80-hour weeks and
Mm-hmm.
not making a lot of money. But I saw a way forward because I saw other people doing it and said, I don't want to just be a restaurant owner operator where I'm in my store all day, every day, just
Mm-hmm.
running this. I want to build a restaurant group. I want to build a brand, and I want to build a business that has a team of professionals, and I want to be responsible for them and in charge of the
Mm-hmm.
situation to where I'm leading that team and I'm in charge of their safety and wellness and the product and all that in a certain sense. But I wanted that to be my role. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to build trust with those people and be able to take my family on vacation and know that the operation is continuing to go, because if you remove yourself and you're gone for a week or more, and things
Hmm.
fundamentally shift or shut down in some way, then you really do not have a business. And so I knew that was going to be the goal, was to build that. And for whatever reason, I saw a way, or discovered or researched or studied my way into finding the way to make that happen here,
Hmm.
and just happened to be somewhat successful at doing it so far. But it's an everyday process, everyday struggle, everyday battle, in a sense of always staying in front and innovating here and allowing that to continue.
Yeah, you mentioned that if you build a business in a certain way, you can remove yourself from the day to day. So, what did you? Obviously, you had some lessons learned in the law business that you realize like you are the business, right? You are the product, and it's very hard to scale it when you are the critical resource that's oftentimes being used to
Yeah.
produce the money. But whereas in the business, your pizza is the product, but you just need to have the system and process and people around to actually deliver the promise that you're making, which is we're going to deliver the best pizza. So can you tell us like how did you go into this? Obviously, this business is like about 40 years old. You took over your family business,
20,
right? I think
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
And you took, how what were you doing differently about this pizza business that you were able to go from the day one, like I'm going into it to build it in a way I'm not a cog in the wheel, right? Where I need to be part of it for this machine to operate.
I think at the time I just wanted to be like a co pilot with Bill, do all the stuff that was needed. There was so much that needed to get done, and a lot of which I was uniquely qualified to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so my first few years was literally just taking care of all those things. And I really wasn't in charge of the business at all. Bill was. So in that sense, I had it easy. I was to be able to do all the things that I was an expert at, and not have to worry about all the other stuff. As time went
Mm-hmm.
on, and I would see issues and see things pop up, I started figuring more and more. We opened new stores, had to get rid of a manager, didn't have another manager. Hey, can you go help manage the store? Sure, I'll go manage the store. Don't know how to manage a store, but I'll go do it. So I worked backwards into, I started off when I was younger working in the restaurant with this
Mm-hmm.
as like a shift kid, doing dishes, taking orders, that type of stuff. So I've literally worked every position in the company, from being a college age dishwasher and sandwich maker, order taker guy, front of
Mm-hmm.
house. I've had that role all the way up to now being the CEO of the company. So I said only one person gets to be the founder, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very rare that somebody gets to work every position in the company, from the very lowest one to work their way all the way up, because you don't often have someone who's like the dishwasher that then also
Mm-hmm.
has my background while they're washing dishes. And so not being above any of that stuff and kind of learning it the whole way through, and knowing what I know now, and getting my arms around the business, I really learned the operation, but that took a lot of time. And so then from there, once I felt like I really understood what was going on in the business and how
Mm-hmm.
everything worked, only then was I able to truly find ways to actually start like fixing or improving
Mm-hmm.
certain things. And from there, it was like, okay, man, we keep having. Here's what I've figured out, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something that's taking up more than 20% of my time, and there's something that's aggravating, if you put those
Mm-hmm.
two things together, that has to, somebody else has to take that over.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to start doing that to build a team and build stuff. But I learned how to scale with sales instead
Mm-hmm.
of what I see a lot of people do and my old clients do, especially in the software side. Okay, we're going to do 5 million in sales this year. So they go and hire a staff for the 5 million in sales before they've sold a dollar.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, because unless you have, you're independently wealthy, or you have a venture fund or some PE
Mm-hmm.
capital that you're looking to blow through, that to me is just a crazy way to do things. And I see a lot of people do that as well. I've put myself in the new position where there's growth all the time. Number one, because you can't train or teach anyone what's going to happen here, or know like when we had a new ice cream truck, the first year I spent almost every event out with that truck.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I'm the only person who knows how to scoop ice cream, but it was a brand new thing for us. And I'm going, we don't really have another person to take this on right now, but there was a lot of troubleshooting and problem solving and efficiency issues and a lot of stuff that we didn't foresee, that I only learned from being out in the field. I love growth and I love expansion and I love creativity and doing all that stuff, but I want to have a team, so that way I can go out and do what I'm passionate about, which is growing brands, growing sales, efficiency, and then launching new products, new services, new whatever. I really enjoy
Mhm.
that part of the business. And then building the team around that if it works. Sometimes it doesn't work, and those are the things you don't even know about because they're already
Mhm.
come and gone. And I was like, but I learned really fast by being in it. This doesn't have any legs at all. And then there's some
Mhm.
other stuff where I'm like, wow, this worked out great. Let's keep pushing that button. Okay, now we're getting so many requests for this. We need somebody in charge of taking those leads and closing that business. But at first, I'm the one that takes every call. Or there will be another person like me that's their job is like new revenue. Because then you really feel like what's going to make it and what's not. So that's where I try to focus as much of my time as possible. And I think that's when we're at our best is if I'm spending my time focused on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of principles that you mentioned. A lot of times, I think everybody wants the CEO title, but I think if all you get is that CEO title, you were just thrown into that role. You don't necessarily know how the pizza is made, right? You don't know what goes into actually operating a restaurant in the most profitable and efficient way. Since you've had your hand in so many things, when somebody BS you saying, "Ah, yeah, it does take 15 minutes to make a pizza," you can say, "No, I've been in the oven. I know how to make a pizza. It doesn't take you 50 minutes." Like you're able to call out the BS, and also you're able to see the inefficiencies. This we shouldn't be doing this way. There's got to be a better way
Yeah,
to do it. And a lot of times that the people you put in there, they're just order takers. They just do the task and never think creatively, like, how can I do this a little bit better or easier, right? They just want to do the job, and a lot of people just see it as a paycheck more than, oh, can I contribute some value
yeah.
in this value chain,
Yeah,
right?
and I
Like that.
think number one, then that's another part of like my key responsibilities in our operations team is when there is that person that
Mhm.
is willing to offer value or can offer value and you see them to
Mhm.
acknowledge that and embrace that because you want to foster that in more people. See, oh, this
Mhm.
doesn't go unnoticed if I do this or that. But to encourage that. And I think part of that is I know a lot but don't know everything. And also when I was in their position, I had a lot of
Mhm.
good ideas that
Yeah.
are still work to this day. And I was sometimes listened to and sometimes not.
No,
Sometimes
so.
probably for the right reason and sometimes for the wrong. Where we didn't do something that I brought up and we didn't do it till 2 years later when it was somebody else's idea. And then we did it and I was like, no, don't you wish we would have started doing that 2 years ago? But whatever. And sometimes it's just a timing thing, right? I know now I have a
Yeah.
lot on my plate sometimes and I'm like, that's a really terrific idea. I hate being like corporate, but let's
Mhm.
put a pin in that for Q4.
Yeah.
We really don't have the bandwidth to do that correctly right now, but that's a really good idea. And so you
Yeah.
hate getting to that point too, because we want to run fast when we find something that's a good idea. But sometimes you really just don't know if it's good or not until you've actually put it out there. I've
No,
been
so.
surprised by the number of things that we thought were going to go really great with our customers that didn't never caught on, and so you're like, okay, so you ditched it. And then something that we thought was like, and barely put
Mhm.
any effort into it, and it was like that's what they all were attracted to. It's like this particular deal or this particular feature or something. And you're like, oh wow, okay,
Yeah, I think I've heard like when you're a leader, right, you want to give credit for even for an idea that was executed by somebody else, give them the credit. But if it's failed, you take the ownership. Oh, that was my idea. It didn't work because I think that encourages people to say, okay, you know what? I get rewarded for actually taking risks and then I don't get penalized if something were to go south because that's
yeah.
what
And
usually
I
hold
think
people.
I'm also have a unique position as the CEO of the company in that we're not in a business position at this point where there's really anybody that could fire me. Like I could be
Mhm.
a mutiny or some kind, but I'd still own the business. It's not really legally possible to fire me, right?
Mhm.
I'm in a position of I have nothing to lose in that sense where I don't have any particular ego tied to my ideas or anybody else's because they're not going to cost me personally.
Mhm.
I have no issue with my ideas not working out. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't lose sleep
Mhm.
over it. I just move on into the next one. So that doesn't sting my ego. But I also
Mhm.
understand if you're in charge of these other enterprises and you're hired by a board of directors, like if you're the Cracker Barrel logo,
Mhm.
the person who signed off on that,
Uh-huh.
you're looking
For the
over your
100 million.
shoulder right now going, I'm counting my days.
Uh-huh.
So I don't have that particular pressure where I know some executives, I get it. It's CYA in corporate America all the time. So
Mhm.
you'll say, oh, it was Joe down there in accounting. That was on him. I understand it's a little bit harder to take the ownership of that as a leader when you're
Mhm.
answering to people who have their finger on the button for you. So I don't want to say that, oh, look at me and I know other people push stuff off on others. some people are in other positions and they're trying to preserve their own job,
Mhm.
and I get that to a certain extent. To trying to save yourself, but
Yeah.
yeah, a real leader takes responsibility for every mistake, even if the idea wasn't theirs. Because, and that's what I tell people. I go, ultimately, I know I had no
Mhm.
hand in this, but who am I talking to if I say, well, it wasn't my job to do that? I didn't do that.
Mhm.
Okay, we all know that I didn't do it, but
Mhm.
still, I'm ultimately responsible for every single thing that happens here.
Yeah. And I
I'm
think
accountable. Yeah.
when you take ownership as a leader, I think the followers also start taking ownership too, because I think they just see, okay, I have to own up to whatever I did. That's the culture you also want to build, right? You want people that are taking ownership, whether that the decision or thing that they did actually went good or bad. Obviously, you had the brandless as a creative agency you built, and you had a successful exit from there. How do you think that prepared you to help market this pizza chain?
In the early days, a lot. But I'll say it's like everything else. If you don't stay up on things, you're already lost. The greatest thing that you can learn is how to think, not what to think, because what to think is always going to change based
Mm,
on what's happening. And right now, the speed of changes and adapting is it's just crazy.
mhm,
So I always like to be ahead on everything and get into it before other people. And I love to play in pools where there's no other competition or there's very few people doing it. So you mentioned with me like, oh, it's interesting that you're not a, would you say I'm not a B2B
mhm,
person, but I'm on LinkedIn a lot. You noticed me because I'm one of the only ones that is. You're still a potential customer. Like you could be driving down the street. You asked me to be on your
mhm.
podcast. You could be driving down the street and you see that sign. You go, hey, that's that goofy guy from LinkedIn that's always posting about pizza. I should go try that. And then I
Mhm,
win, right? Like I won because I posted something goofy on there. You saw it. You saw the name. It's in your head, and
mhm,
you're like, you know what? I got to go try that. So
mhm,
everybody is a potential consumer for my business because everybody eats. So
mhm,
to say I'm not going to be on LinkedIn because of whatever, this is not the use for this platform. What's my use for the
mhm,
platform? And I've actually made a lot of great connections and built a lot of relationships with even some of my vendors. Who that's what they're like. They didn't meet me there, but now I connect with them pretty regularly on there because they're on there, and I've built more of a relationship with them, which has helped my business and helped them amplify me and what we're doing. And so I think that thought process of be where they're not and go where there is potential for the business, but where your competition is not dumping a ton of time and resources because then you're competing directly against that. So it's going to cost you more and
mhm.
you're going to get a less return. I feel like I get so much more return on me posting on LinkedIn than if I do on my Instagram, my personal Instagram. There's value in me investing time in that. For our brand,
Mhm.
it's silly to be posting all that stuff on there. However, because I tag our brand in every post, if I put up a job listing on LinkedIn and someone goes and looks at the company, they're going to see all those posts of what we're like. So, whereas Instagram is where we're trying to reach and create brand awareness and get people to really understand what we're about and our personalities and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
because just posting a picture of your food isn't going to get it done. But also, there's a lot of people that work for businesses that are on there, and we do a lot of catering, both our
Mhm.
trucks, out of our stores, people booking private events, and all that kind of stuff. So you never know. I post on LinkedIn and say, look at us do this wedding. You might be
Mhm.
getting married in a year, and you're like, oh, that would be really cool. And I
Mhm.
stood out because I'm the only one posting about catering for your wedding on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I also mix in with that. It's like a jab hook, right? I'm
Mhm.
jabbing with that content to get you engaging because you're like, this is a fun guy. I'll follow him. And then I will post things of value to other professionals, not only in the hospitality space, but in the legal and other
Mhm.
spaces where someone will bring up a question and I'll go, okay, I'll write an article on that. And then I had a publisher of one of the major pizza magazines reach out because they saw my article and say, hey, would you mind? Can we get authorization to republish this in our
Mhm.
magazine? They never reached out to me about writing for their magazine before, but I gave
Yeah.
them an example of my writing for free on LinkedIn, and they saw and were like, "Oh, this guy can do some writing." To me, like that's you have to do that type of stuff and be there.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that you've mentioned here, your plans of actually going franchising this business, you want the B2B audience in that case for sure. Because if somebody is seeing you're building a strong restaurant business and you have a multi location chain that you already built, then they're like, oh, this is a replicatable business model. I want to invest in this opportunity because I think it's a natural next step might be like, hey, you have 20,000 people following, very small percentage of those people need to take action. If you were to say, hey, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about franchising this, if you're interested, message me, right? Like you have immediate, like from what I know, LinkedIn followers are mostly professionals who actually are higher net worth individuals, typically have business minded personalities. So they're actually looking for opportunities as well, as opposed to like Instagram, they're just trying to browse and probably find some place to eat and whatnot. They're more from a consumer
100%.
perspective.
And it's like, to me, like, Instagram is the equivalent of people like our in-store marketing, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
in a digital storefront. Whereas this is a higher level of marketing to me, where it's not overtly selling anything. Again, the jab hook is, if for years you're following me and seeing me post about us and seeing our growth and our wins and struggles and sales and getting to know the brand and all that, and eventually I put something up that's, by the way, we're opening up franchising again and we're looking at this territory, and now I've been steadily inviting 100 people a day for years to connect with me, and maybe 10 a day, like, actually accept
Mm-hmm.
it. And I have 20,000 followers, and I'm looking strategically at multi unit franchisee employees,
Mm-hmm.
investors, groups that invest in restaurants, and I'm adding them in addition to just like people like you and whatever. And I start posting, and go, this might be an interesting opportunity.
Yeah,
So it's like
and I
all
think
that
that's.
years of free content can turn into a very valuable relationship. And it's done to me the right way. It's done in an organic way. It's
Mhm.
done in a way where we're getting to know each other over a long period of time versus the just like selling. Because I don't like that.
Yeah, and I think I'm a big proponent of that. I don't know if you follow someone by the name Alex Hormozy. He's on
Yeah,
YouTube. In the last 2.5 years, he made a massive following. I
crazy.
think combined across multiple channels, he's like 6 or 7 million followers on his LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and everywhere else. And I think it was a couple of weekends ago, he actually went live and
That 100
published his
million,
third book, which was $100 million money model. It's actually on my floor.
crazy.
But the idea is, right, he built a massive audience who had trust. And I think what you just alluded to is you don't want to be jab hook. I think it was Gary Vee that kind of wrote a book about the
That's
whole
him. Jab,
concept,
jab
right?
hook.
So you do want to give value, and only don't be asking for things until you created so much value in people that they feel like it's not even an ask anymore, because you've just done so much in giving that it's just a natural next step is like, yeah, I trust this guy enough to go buy his $30 book. So I
Yeah,
think that.
and the value that you provide is different, right? Like, to me, I feel like I provide two unique values on LinkedIn if you're going to follow me. Number one, I'm going to somewhat regularly provide my own insights or information from what I'm learning as at my level of running a restaurant group, and my thoughts
Mhm.
and feelings on those things and all that. And secondarily, I think I provide a much needed break from the monotony of LinkedIn, that I'm the
Yes,
value I
guys.
provide you is a laugh.
Yeah.
And I hope that it is. Like, I don't put up all of our videos on there. I
Hmm.
provide the ones that I think are the silliest. And that's
Hmm.
exactly why I do it. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? If someone's doom scrolling on here because they're bored at work, or they're miserable and they're looking for their next thing or whatever, I'm going to give them
Hmm.
10 seconds of enjoyment. I'm going to
Yeah.
break up their day with a laugh. Because
Yeah.
that to me is the value that I can uniquely provide there, because of what my personal brand is and what our business brand is. It's in line. It's not out of character, and it's not off brand. If I
Hmm.
was, once again, like, in some very serious position of something, and then all of a sudden all I'm doing is cracking jokes all the time, it wouldn't make sense to be
Yeah.
that. But so that's what I try to do, is a unique perspective on our business, and then give people a laugh every once in a while.
Yeah. I feel the same way too, because I think the last thing I needed one more guy saying, here's my 10 ChatGPT templates, just comment below and I'll send it to you. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I've seen 50 of these already today. I
Well, I
don't need
know.
one.
Because if you
It's
sign
getting
on with
kind of,
me, don't you want to
yeah.
have 5 million in revenue? All you have to do is,
Just comment,
yeah,
yeah, 5 million. I'll
light
send
yourself
you
on
my plug.
fire and go to the gym at 3:30 in the morning, and then you'll be a millionaire like me. It's like, come on.
Yes. But it's definitely interesting that you're you decided that, hey, I'm not just going to stay on a platform like B2C platform that's geared toward a restaurant business, but you saw an opportunity to say, okay, I can actually provide value and possibly drive some business in the future. And especially if you're doing business corporate catering, I think that's like people are going to trust a guy who's on LinkedIn, because they know for a fact you're not going to burn their pizza and you're going to deliver on time.
Yeah,
That's
and
what they're going to.
somebody reached out to me and asked me for something, and I replied back pretty quickly
Hmm.
and short, to the point. I always am in my messages. Or, yeah, sounds good. Here, like, link.
Hmm.
And when she started telling me, she was like, I can't believe it was actually you, because so much stuff is automated on there and it's AI and it's all this other stuff. And I was like, yeah, I still run. I'm a person on my phone.
Mhm.
And Gary Vee is very big on that too, right? It's like he will be the one, like, yes, he's
Yeah,
got his automated stuff. He's responding to a lot of
he
stuff.
comments back. He comments back.
Yeah. And it's like, you're telling me that you don't have the time to do that, or you don't, like, you're telling me you're trying everything, but you don't have the time to respond to a comment when you only have 4 people commenting on your stuff. Like, you have to do, if you want to, if your goal is to build an engaging
Mhm.
community around you and your brand, then you need to actually do what it takes to do that. And part of that is being engaging and being social. So yeah,
Yeah.
if somebody texts me or messages me is like, hey, can I get one of those hats? I'll be like, yeah, send me your address. And they're like, oh, holy shit, you answered and you're gonna send it? Yeah. You want to wear my hat of my business? Sure, I'll send you one.
Yeah. I think it's a great insight for a lot of business owners. I think I'm actually trying to create a lot more content around this main topic of building trust and earning people's trust, right? Because that's the currency of today. Because people are afraid of everything they're seeing, right? Is it AI driven? Is it a real person behind? Like those are the kind of thoughts that people are having. So back in the day, entrepreneurs were able to just sit behind their desk and just command people to do, and they just never had to put their face or their personality out there. But I think those days are gone. I think if you are trying to really build an audience that follows you, loves you, and trusts you and buy from you, you certainly need to be the face of the brand. I don't think that's an option anymore.
Yeah, and it's not only that you need to build trust for what it is that you sell, whether that's a product, a
Hmm.
service, or whatever that is. So I think that's like the bare minimum, right? The bare minimum
Hmm.
is competency. Let's say that the floor is competency.
Hmm.
Beyond there, it's because people, I believe, have so much access to people like yourself and so many options for people like myself where to eat. That level of competition has competency as the base, and that many choices out there and access. You have to have a differentiator, and the
Hmm.
differentiator come from, is this someone that I actually want to work with or visit or give my money to for whatever reason, and do I trust them to do that consistently? Oh, I hate to swear on your podcast, but I want to know that the person's not a piece of shit. Like, that's a big part of it. Is I don't want to give my
Yeah.
money to or work. There's a million insurance agents out there, and
Hmm.
that can help me pick the right plan. But who's the one that I enjoy talking to, chopping it up with? Hey, you share tickets with me, I'm going to share tickets with you, and actually, like, why don't we go to the game together? You can create those relationships with, because ultimately you spend the majority of your life doing these things. So that's the other part. Why
Hmm.
would you spend it around people that you don't like or can't stand? And so I think that's
Yeah.
where the comfortability factor and the building trust factor comes. It's not trust in the sense of that, like, you trust them with what you're asking them for, and you trust them enough with your time.
Yeah. I also think like when you were saying earlier, you post a job, they come and look at the CEO. This person is active. I like his personality. I want to work for that person. Like you also are attracting top talent when you are also showing the company culture, your personality, and sharing behind the scene information as well. So I think there's multiple facets. It's not just buying, like people buying from you. It's also the team and talent that you're able to attract.
I would hope so. And I
It's
think as our organization grows, I think that's going to be even more important. And as the
Mhm.
volume of content out there continues to build over time, like you said, they might see that, oh, just this year they started doing this.
Mhm.
Interesting. But that person that's been following them and applies 2 years from now goes, oh my gosh, look at all this. And then you
Mhm.
see a real track record of like consistency and brand, not just like they posted one funny video and then they gave up on that after a month. Oh,
Yeah.
that's the type of people they are. No, they're doing this for a long period of time in an excellent way, and that's when you start believing. So the
Yeah.
consistency is a big part of building trust.
Most certainly. Obviously, there's a lot of lessons you've learned. Knowing what you know today, what advice would you give younger Rick?
Some people usually say slow down, it takes more time, and then I always kind of knew that there was not a silver bullet, or there was no 20 years for an overnight success. That's always what it is. It's never overnight. But I think I would have told myself to do even more earlier. I did a lot
Mm-hmm.
and I worked a lot, but I think I would have pushed even harder. I don't know if it's possible, but that's probably not what most people look back and tell themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I would tell myself that just because I know, like, when you're building a family, you're younger and you hit those certain ages, like I'm at right now with 3 young kids, it's really hard. It's really hard to do both at the same time. So I'm happy I'm not in the heaviest lifting of the building phase. But as we continue to grow, I see more of those boulders ahead that need to be lifted and say, man, just got to push earlier to go further. Because if you do have that home life that you're trying to build as well and have a complete life, one or the other will, for lack of a better term, suffer towards the other at times. And so and it's, I know, like, I choose, if it's between perfection over here at the store or spending time at like my kid's game, I'll go to the game. You should never get that back. But that stuff, it's to the detriment of things at times. It's not life or death, but just something may suffer. And so then you have to choose what it is that suffers. And I've seen way too many people pick their family that suffers over the business. And that is the choice that comes up. So I would say if you're younger and you're not there yet, you're not married yet, you don't have the kids yet, put in the work now. Don't spend it playing around, goofing around, because you'd rather have your time later to do those things when you have built what you wanted rather than trying to wait. Because it's just like going back to school. The older you get, the harder it's going to be to do it. The harder it is to jump, the less time you have. It doesn't get easier as you get older. So your risk reward boxes and your risk tolerance shifts completely as you get married and have children and a mortgage and all those things. So when you're running and gunning when you're younger, don't spend it at the bars. Don't spend it doing all that stuff. Spend it taking care of yourself and building towards the life that you want to have in your 30s and 40s and 50s, because that's what you're building. That's what you're trying to do. So that's what I would say. It feels weird heading into that. I'm going to be 40 very soon. It feels weird hitting that mark. It's a shift in your thinking a bit, and I'm looked at it with some sort of wisdom at this point, I guess. Because of the years, and you just look back and I go, man, I'm happy I put in as much work as I did when I was younger, and if I could, I should have put it in even more. Maybe I would have been a little further. Elon talks about that all the time. How do you get How do you get ahead of your competition? If they're working 40 hours, you're working 80, you're going to get there twice as fast.
100%.
So there is a lot of truth to that.
Yeah. What a great wisdom and advice to end our conversation together. Thank you so much for sharing this time together and sharing some of your life lessons with my audience. Thank you.
Thanks.
This episode of Coffee with Closers is brought to you by One IMS, a leading digital marketing agency helping businesses win new customers. To request a free marketing ROI audit, please visit oneims.com. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. To make sure you never miss an episode, please subscribe.